Okay, hi everybody. This is just a brief video to introduce you to the Edulastic website, which is a website that we plan on using this year, probably for assessments, but also just for different practice activities. So you're going to sign up for Edulastic and join the class using the class code. You'll get all those directions in your class notebook. Once you sign up and log in, once I give you an assignment, it's going to look like this on your home screen. Sometimes these assignments will run for multiple days and you can do them whenever you choose. If it's an actual timed assessment, there would be a given start date and a given end date. It's a little bit difficult for you to actually show your work on this website. So more than likely, we would require you to do your work on a separate sheet of paper and then submit it in some fashion. Just a word that if you've used this website before, it does appear to have undergone a huge revamp over the summer. So you're going to kind of have to get used to the new functionality. Also, another note that if you are using this Edulastic website, you are going to actually want to use the website on a laptop. It does not appear to work as well if you try to use the app or if you try to use it on your phone. So please make sure that when you are going to do one of these, you do have a device like a laptop. So this is a practice assessment that I made, and I signed up in a fake class as a fake student. You guys are all going to get assigned this assignment, not to count for a grade, but just as a way for you to kind of play around with the different types of questions, play around with the math keyboard, and then just, kind of get your math brain working, since the questions are honestly very simple. So I'm going to go ahead and start the assignment. And here's question number 1. So here, this is just a simple multiple choice question. Now, again, I'm not actually going to do the problem since obviously you all would be able to do it. But when I assign this to you and you go in, I would, of course, actually try to do the work on a separate sheet of paper. And this is just a simple multiple choice question. You'll see a ton of those throughout the year. So you'll do your work on a separate sheet of paper and choose the one that you think is accurate. So once you've done that, you'll go ahead and choose the next key. If for some reason you have an issue with the question, you can bookmark it. You can go back to these questions later. Please keep in mind that when I do assign you something in real time, I'll be able to kind of monitor you as you go. I'll be able to see how long you spent on a question. I'll be able to see how long everybody spent on a question, what percentage of students got it right, what percentage of students got it wrong. So really, it's going to give me a ton of information. So here in number 2, it's asking you for the sum using imaginary numbers. So here it's not a multiple choice question, which means that you would click on the empty box. And this is going to bring up the basic math keyboard. As you can see, it starts with an I, which you're certainly going to need because there's an I in the problems. Then it has certain operators, less than, greater thans. It's got parentheses and brackets. This here is your fraction key, so it would allow you to turn anything into a fraction. You are going to have to make sure that you use that key and not just use the division button. You've got a log button here. You've got an infinity button. If you go ahead and scroll to the right, you're going to see a bunch of other operators. Keep in mind that when I click around within this box, you're going to want to make sure that, for example, if you were in the fraction to begin with, you're going to either want to right arrow or click out of the fraction before you enter the next expression. So here you've got some more ideas here. You've got some more fractions. You've got a exponent key, which you're going to use a lot. So let's say that I wanted to enter x to the 5th. I would start by pressing the x key. I'm going to delete this so I don't need it. So I would press the x key. Oh, I guess it's not allowing me to do that since there's no x's in the answer. So we'll come back to that in the next one. So again, once you feel like you are sure of your answer, you would go ahead and click next. Here's an example of a question where I give you a drop-down menu. So the good news about a question like this is it has to be one of these answers. So again, do the work on a separate sheet of paper, choose the one that you think is the correct answer, choose it, and then go ahead and move on. Here's an example of a graphing question. So here, they want you to graph y equals negative x, and they want you to start by plotting the y-intercept and then 2 more points. So before you plot a point, you would have to select what it is you're graphing. So if you're going to start with the y-intercept, you would select y-intercept. You would then plot a point wherever you think the y-intercept would be. Then click on point number 1, click where you think point number 1 is, point number 2, and so on and so forth. For a question like this, there are, of course, infinitely many answers. answers since there are infinitely many points on that line. So for a question like this, your teacher would have to go back and look at your answer and then deem whether it was acceptable or not. If you're wondering if there is partial credit on assessments, of course there is. Sometimes I'm able to award it just by looking at what answer you've chosen. And sometimes I would require you to submit your work, look at your work, and then go back and reward points accordingly. The nice thing about these assessments on Edulastic is that it will also, at the end, provide you with all the answers. So you'll be able to go back and see exactly what you did right and wrong. Next question here, all you're trying to do is simplify the expression so that all the exponents are positive. So again, once you click here, it's always going to show you at least all of the operators that you need. Sometimes there'll be more, but there will of course never be less. So in a case like this, you're gonna have perhaps a fraction. So if you need a fraction, make sure you choose the fraction key. Because you're clearly gonna have exponents, you can start by either typing the variable like x, or you can choose a variable like x. In this case, it looks like you're going to have to use different kinds of variables. So let's say you wanted to do x to the 6th. Again, in a case like this, you first typed the variable. So let's say we want to do variable g. Then you could type the exponent key, and that would have you as g to the 3rd. So yes, you can either use the keys that are on the board here, or you can simply type the variables. The computer will know how to choose either of those things as the correct answer. Here in question 7, again, these are your open-ended questions, which to be honest, a lot of your test and practice questions will be. So these questions are really just for you to practice using the different operators, making sure that you know how to create exponents, making sure you know how to click inside and outside of those exponents. Again, if you get an answer marked wrong simply because of a typo, your teacher will be able to go back and award you credit as needed. But obviously it's easier for everybody if you're kind of able to type the right answer in on the first try. So here I'm skipping a question because I didn't answer a question. That's fine. Here's another type of question. So I give you a function and I ask you to complete a table. So obviously there are going to be multiple answers. And notice here that no keyboard popped up because of the fact that all you're entering is a number. So if your answer is just going to be a number, there's no need for the keyboard. If it's going to be an expression with a variable, then obviously the keyboard will pop up. Finally, for the last question, what I have here is as complicated of operators as you're going to have to be able to use. So all you have to do here to answer this question correctly is type exactly what it is you see. So notice here that when I type in the white box, I now have what's called the full keyboard. For calculus especially, you're going to have to be using all of this complicated terminology here. So the sooner you get familiar with it, the better. Notice that you can click between each of these different menus and it will show you all of the different possible things. Again, nobody is expecting you to be an expert right now, week 1. You're going to be using this program throughout the year, so certainly you'll get better at it. This is really just a practice here. The only thing that I would point out are for things like the limit problem and for things like the log. You just have to make sure you're typing the stuff in the right spot. So let's say you wanted to type a limit. When you choose the limit option, notice that it leaves you as the full size number. So the full size number here is going to be the 2x. A limit has to be done to something, which means you're going to have to somehow right arrow, left arrow, or click back to the subscript. And this is as x goes to 5. So again, you want to type exactly what it is you see here. This is as complicated as it gets, at least for now. So if you're able to do that, then you'll be in good shape. So I've gone through and I've answered these questions, obviously incorrectly. I'm going to go ahead and submit it. From here, I can review if I want to. I can go back to bookmark things. I can check my work. Once I feel confident, I can go ahead and submit. And then depending on how the teacher has set it up, and for something like this, I would probably let you be able to see the answers. So for question 1, looks like I was correct. And just so you know, even if you're a student in my class, you're likely to see the name for Miss Vitrone. This is just an account that she and I share, so no worries about that. So here's question 1, shows me that I got the right answer, and I got 1 point out of 1 point. Here on question 2, sadly, I did not get the right answer, which means that I got a 0 out of 1. Now notice here that you don't see the right answer. This was just a test that I didn't really set any of the parameters, but I will be able to set it up if I want you to see the right answer. If I don't want you to see the the right answer? Do I want you to see the right answer right away? Do I want to wait and release it until everybody has taken it? So that'll change depending on the assessment. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and click through all of the questions. This is going to be able to show me what kind of credit I'm getting. And again, notice that for this question right here, I got a 0 out of 1 because it was not deemed acceptable, but certainly I could go back and depending on the answers, award credit for multiple answers. So again, this is just a brief introduction to how you are going to be using the website. So after you have signed up, please go ahead and take this practice assessment. Again, obviously, it doesn't hurt to try to get the right answers since the problems are all very simple, but mostly you're concerned with the functionality. And if you have any questions throughout the way, please feel free to reach out to your teacher, okay? And again, you can watch this video as many times as you want. So thanks very much.